of Exile livestream.
Okay.
We have a packed show today with
I am
announcements
Chris
for Path of
Wilson,
Exile 2,
закреслим.
as well as the exclusive unveiling of Path of Exile Affliction, which launches on December 8th on PC and Mac, and on December 13th on console.
Нормально.
Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow
Оці,
the
до речі, крила
instructions
можете
below in
отримати.
order to claim your Huntsman wings.
Якщо дивитесь мій стрім,
We'll start
по
with
ідеї
Path
вже
of
має
Exile
працювати.
2, where Jonathan will walk you through our latest announcements. Mark will then take you on a
Да, мають
deep
працювати.
dive
Оновіть
into the new
сторінку,
Path of
напевно.
Exile Affliction Challenge League,
Має працювати.
which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its rewards, some new content we're adding to the core Path of Exile
працює.
experience, and some large metagame changes. I'll then show you our annual core supporter packs.
New
and
core
we'll head into
content.
our live Q&A session.
Okay.
Ziggy D will ask us your questions from Twitch chat.
Metagame changes, боже.
After the live stream, we'll
Дихаємо.
drop the full patch notes.
I'd like to hand over to Jonathan Rogers, Game Director of Path of Exile 2.
Hey guys, it's been a few months since we introduced you to the Druid in Path of Exile 2. But one of the things that we're really
Пропоя?
focusing on
Да,
now is
пропоя,
how
да.
varied each of the classes feels to play. The monk darts around quickly from enemy to enemy, building and
Пропоя 2,
unleashing
найс,
combos.
найс.
If he doesn't stay in combat, he loses momentum and has to build it up again.
А що тут тоді до цього було? Типу, нащо вони те показували, якщо вони тут теж розповідають? Окей, ну це Монк.
The warrior, on the other hand, is like a slow but unstoppable freight train. A warrior commits to big attacks and relies on stunning his
Шкіпер,
enemies to
шкіпер,
stay
дуже
safe
дякую.
in the thick of combat. When an opening presents itself, a warrior can use even larger attacks to demolish his enemies.
Ну окей. Ну це не показувало.
The Huntress seamlessly moves from melee to ranged combat and back. The true damage potential of the Huntress is only unlocked when you learn to combine ranged and melee abilities together.
Ну да, Хантерс, яка, типу, у неї комбінація ренджі і мілішки. МТшки.
And then there are the spellcasters.
А, скіпер?
The
Окей.
sorceress is a pure caster who much prefers to stay at
Добре,
range and
запам'ятаю.
drop powerful spells on her foes. If she finds herself surrounded by enemies, she would rather use an ability to escape than to take them on directly.
А, що вони
The druid is
Окей,
also
ладно.
a spellcaster, but unlike the sorceress, he uses his spells as a means to support his melee abilities. And by melee abilities, we mean he can turn into a giant
Розчарування
animal and
року?
rip his
Ти
enemies
про
to
що?
pieces.
Не подобається по 2. Це сюжетка. Блять, мені один сюжетка теж не подобається.
Each of these classes feels extremely different to play, but we want to go even further. It's time to check out the mercenary.
Мерсенері.
There's not a job out there I won't take.
Кулеметника нашого.
Good, and a crossbow can solve it.
Тупо кулеметник. О, там прям реально патрон у нього. Бля, вам не видно?
I'll take them all down, one bolt at a time.
When thinking
no,
about
look.
each new class, we really try to think about how we can make
Yeah, that's
combat
a-
feel different from all the others. For the mercenary, that difference is the crossbow. A crossbow is fundamentally different than a regular bow because it fires instantly instead of needing to be drawn back. This means that you need immediate feedback. Clicking the fire button should make the character shoot instantly, just like in a shooter.
Він спиною, до
As
речі,
soon as we
бігає.
experienced that, we realized that there are a lot of design lessons
Він що,
to learn
ВСД
from
управляє?
and so we fully embraced them. In Path
Як
of
він
Exile
управляє?
2,
Він
we have
ВСД
crossbows
управляє.
that work like sniper rifles, shotguns, and assault rifles.
Assault Rifles, які нахуй Assault Rifles? Що ви
In
граєте?
order to really get shooter-like gameplay, we wanted to go further. In Path of Exile 2, we now support WASD movement. You can now walk around in any direction independent of aiming. In fact, if this is your preferred method of gameplay, you can use it on any class, regardless of what weapon type you're
яке
using.
ВСД?
You can change between click to move or
ти можеш
WASD
обрати.
at any time. You can only hold 2 crossbows at a time, but Path of Exile 2 is all about interesting
Лоха.
combinations of abilities, and this is where ammo skills come in. This is a burst shot crossbow, and right now I have armor-piercing ammo equipped, which makes it very effective when facing a group of enemies, since it pierces right through them.
Extended Magazine Support.
But there are other ammos too. For a bigger single target, it might be a good idea to switch to Incendiary. The more projectiles hit the target, the stronger the ignite, so you'll want to get up nice close
До
and
речі,
personal
виглядає
with this
прикольно.
one.
Виглядає прям прикольно.
If you have a bunch of targets running at you, you might want to slow them down. In this case, you could switch to permafrost burst shot. Shooting a bunch of smaller enemies at range will chill them, and potentially even freeze them in place.
Дрона можна контролювати. А буде 4X
Once you have
Optic
some frozen
Support?
enemies, though, you can switch back to armor piercing. Shooting a frozen enemy with armor
Шанс
piercing
на
burst
хедшот
will
там, ну.
explode the ice, doing a huge amount of damage to all nearby enemies. Another feature crossbows have is attachments. This is a grenade launcher. As you can see, when I
Grenade
equip
launcher.
it appears on the underside of the crossbow. These attachments are just like skill gems, so you effectively get extra skill slots, and you can augment these with
Тупо
support gems,
гранатомет.
just like regular skills.
Це залупа якась. Чесно, мені не дуже подобається, що вони це додають. Блять, Друга
These
світова.
grenades take a while to
Що я
explode,
дивлюсь?
so it's a good idea to pair them with some kind of crowd control, like permafrost burst shot.
А що чат думає? Resident Evil. Path of Exile Warfare.
We have other grenades too, though. This
Call
attachment is a
of
flash
Exile.
grenade. It does barely any damage, but it does a huge amount of stun. It can be a great opener before you run into combat.
Ні, блять, прибирайте це соромисько просто.
Now, here's another attachment, an oil grenade.
Ойл,
Firing one of
масляна
these
граната,
grenades
так.
coats the ground and nearby enemies in oil. Oil slows enemies down, so it's another useful crowd control mechanic.
По масовому обмазуєш, да? Lube it up.
Now, another thing that oil can do is be set on fire. Any
Це
burning
зрозуміло,
enemy
да.
or explosion will ignite the oil, causing extra burning damage.
Мобс стан займається, пішов
One of
просто
the
на місце
problems with burst shot
ходять,
crossbows is
серйозно?
that each pellet doesn't do much damage individually.
Ні, ну
This
ладно,
means
типу,
that if
це
enemies
нічого
have
такого.
armor, then it will be very effective preventing that damage. But thankfully, you can equip an additional crossbow in your second weapon set to deal with the weaknesses of your primary
Окей,
weapon.
другий
This is a
weapon
rapid
set,
shot
да.
crossbow. Rapid shot is great for closing on
Так,
enemies
погнав.
because you can shoot while running. In
Тупо
Path of Exile
емочку
2, you
калаш
now
там.
have the ability to allow you to use some skills while moving. Being able to create skills like this opens up a lot of new design space and
Бачиш,
allows us
таке?
to really increase the pace of combat.
АК-47. Блять, який нахуй ВСД?
The
Чо реально
armor-piercing
управляє
version of
ВСД і
rapid shot
стріляє з
slowly
автомата?
erodes a monster's armor. Once the armor is fully
Не.
broken, you can easily switch back to burst shot
Еко.
to deal much more damage.
А смок буде? Як ви думаєте, смок додадуть? Smoke mine.
Being able to run
До
while
речі, я
shooting
ж.
with rapid shot is also great for when you want to perform a fighting
А
retreat.
флешку. Я в мобі чисто флешку кидав.
Using permafrost ammo with rapid shot is also useful if you need to
Decoy.
retreat. When you shoot the ground, it creates ice crystals. If you draw monsters back over these crystals, they explode, chilling the monsters. It's great if you want to set up a safe zone before pulling the next pack.
Да, ну прикольно, до речі. Ну, вони прикольні штуки роблять, але я не знаю, це дуже
Slowing
незвично.
enemies down
Супер
can come in
незвично.
handy if you want to use the incendiary version of rapid shot. Using this skill requires that you charge up a little bit before it fires. But as it continues to heat up, it will do more.
Блять,
and
він
more
білого
damage.
моба хуярить. Подивіться, білий моб. Чому він білого моба 100 років буває? Це таке.
It has a really large clip size, so you can just keep firing and firing with it. But the
So-
other really useful feature is that when the crossbow is heated up, it adds extra fire damage to any grenade.
Так реально, подивіться, це чисто Друга світова, у чела каска просто, типу, автомат якийсь. Щось. Ну це зрозуміло, що це арбалет, але він так стріляє. Ну, трудно, до речі, стакати. Ну да. Типу да. До речі, да, оце на
Now, I've been using explosive
отруту
grenades
стакати
here,
прям.
but it will work equally as well with flash or oil grenades too. If you use it with oil grenades, the oil will catch fire immediately.
Ні, не, хуйня якась, закривайте просто. Логаут. Логаут. Diablo 5 геймплей. Ні, реально залупа якась, якщо чесно. Ну, не прям залупа, окей, давайте так. Це просто супер незвично. І, типу, поки ми не пограємо в це, ми не точно не можемо сказати, як воно відчувається. Виглядає це супер. Не дуже. Павершот, да? А віндран буде? А шейкл-шот? Павершот, да, реально? Ну такий сильний павершот, звісно. Джавелін купив, маю штром, я б купив, нормально був. Вік-спот, да? Ну да. Always crits у моба. Нормально. Bullseye. До берети будуть? Я б реально на ковбоя подивився. Блін, я б Завіка ще побігав, звісно. Локації прям кайфові. Анімації, дуже гра класно виглядає. Але типу я не впевнений, чи вірно, правильні вони речі роблять. З грою. Але Лего по 2. Треба було в бінго його додати.
This combo also works really well with incendiary rapid shot. I'm going to charge up the heat on my crossbow, shoot out a bunch of grenades, and then start the fireworks with a power shot.
Бум, да.
The ice version of power shot creates frost walls at a distance. This is great for crowd controlling monsters in tight passages.
Ні, все, це весь. Що додати? Кажи, що додати, я додам.
The wall segments have other uses too. If they get destroyed by monsters, then they will explode, doing a small amount of damage.
Дедай нерв, до речі. А луки нерв, точно, боу нервс.
Now, remember that burst shot combo with frozen enemies we did earlier? That works with ice walls too. Let's put burst shot back on. Now I can fill up this area with ice walls, then shoot them with armor-piercing burst shot for a huge amount of damage.
Стіну побудував, нормально. Да, виглядає супер незвично. Типу, як для... Я не знаю, вони прям так в лоб це показують, типу, ну, це супер негативно, насправді.
Alright, it's time to face the boss for this area.
РФ
Let's see how we fare against her with all the skills I've shown you so far.
О, хто? Бос? Новий бос, до речі. А що, боси теж по 2 прям виходять. Окей, тупо... Мама гангає. З ножицями, да? Єбать, вона собі пузо відрізала. А, ясно. Бля, от що, а боси кайфові, от прям... Чи вона реально собі просто пузо розрізала і звідти мікрочел вивалився? Яким нам треба бути просто, блядь, поїхавшим, типу, щоб це придумати. Подивіться, що вона робить. Unwanted. До речі, у дитини ім'я Unwanted. Типу той, кого не хочуть. Ну, я не знаю, як нормально перекласти. Дитину вбиває. Заслужив, до речі. Небажаний, да, небажаний. Да, правильно. А другого вона це? Теж, може, другий виводиться десь? Може ти хп-фаску заюзиш, не? Чо? Тупо стін наспавнув. А нормально, що вона через стіни ламає? До речі, стануть павершотом. Ого.
What is going on in this god's forsaken city?
And that's the mercenary. It feels
Yeah,
totally
кайфовий.
different than anything we've made
Кайфовий
before,
бос.
and shows you the range of what's possible in Path of Exile 2.
Все, блядь, закривайте це сромсько нахуй. Покажіть мені поє, я серветки готуємо чат.
We're going to be showing off a lot
Да
more
йди
about Path of
нахуй.
Exile 2 as we approach its
Все.
beta, but in the
Пока.
meantime, we've got a Path of Exile 1 expansion coming
Да,
out next
да.
week. I'm going to
Пока.
hand over to Mark, also known as Neon, to show you what's in store for PoE 1.
Thanks, Jonathan. Well,
А де
let's just
Кріс
go ahead
Юсон?
and get straight on into it. Here's the trailer for Path of Exile Affliction.
Трейлер. О, трейлер, повноцінний, так.
Something moves in the mists.
Трахать.
Something sinister. Thorn. Rot.
Мілі.
Plague.
Там даблстрайк був.
And claw.
Ого.
The affliction spreads. It hungers for more.
Велика дирка з
Tread
мобами.
lightly in the wildwood, which
Що, під
shifts
шрайном?
and bites. Accept our help, the ancient power of the Asmiri. Beware the spirits that yearn for freedom. And the heart of evil that waits in the dark.
Вау. А.
Ready yourself.
Найс, найс.
I will be waiting.
Найс. Окей. Академ відпустка. Окей, це логін, це супер логін. Логінимось, чат. Просто логінимось.
In the Affliction League, you will encounter sacred wisps, which beckon you to enter overgrown passageways that lead to the Viridian Wildwood.
Єбать, що він у руках тримає? Що це в руках у
A vile
нього?
affliction has covered this forest with a foreboding darkness. You'll need to uncover the forest mysteries to put a stop to the source of the affliction. As you approach the darkness, the wisps burn away its affliction. Make sure you tread carefully, because they only have a limited amount of power. But be warned, the darkness is full of cursed monsters that
Коротше, чим довше ти ходиш по темряві, тим більше, типу, на тебе, ну ж...
As you
Коротше,
explore, you might see
ти
other
силу
types of
втрачаєш.
wisps trapped inside the darkness. The Wildwood is trying to guide you towards clues about its affliction. Follow the trails of wisps by collecting them, and you may uncover many different secrets. New characters
По
to
слідам
find,
можна ходити.
shrines, boss battles, and all kinds of new encounters are lurking in the forest
Срайни,
just waiting
боси,
for you
там
to
багато
discover.
всього.
There are many rewards to earn for those brave enough to seek them.
Зло в мілі показують. Я вам кажу.
When the sacred wisps run out of energy, they will return you back to where you came from.
От коли енергія закінчується, то
Any
ти
other
просто
types of
повертаєшся,
wisps you have collected
звідки ти
will
прийшов.
return with you to Rayclast.
Да, це Абіс, по суті, другий якийсь.
These wisps, having been saved from the affliction, disperse into the environment and inhabit randomly chosen monsters in the area, increasing their power and also their rewards. The different types of wisps have different effects on monsters, and sometimes more than one type will inhabit a single monster, making the fight even harder and even more rewarding.
Коротше, ти
If
коли
this happens
піднявся
to a
нагору,
boss,
то
you
деякі
could be in for a
моби
tough fight. But if you can
або
overcome
боси
it, your efforts
підсилюються,
will not be in vain.
і нагороди
Primal
теж
wisps
підсилюються.
grant an item rarity bonus to inhabited monsters. Wild wisps grant an item quantity bonus, and vivid wisps cause them to drop currency items. If a monster
So
gets
the
all three types,
hardest
they'll drop
venom.
more items of a higher rarity and a lot of currency.
Harvest of
While exploring the
Sentinel.
Wildwood, you might find some of the last few Asmiri wanderers who have managed to survive in the forest since it was cursed.
Ого, чел. Якийсь.
Each of them have different survival specializations,
Три
and
NPC-шника
they are
нових.
willing to teach you if you agree to help them defeat the source of the affliction, the King in the Mists. Choose which of the Asmiri that you will complete quests for to unlock one of 3 new Ascendancy classes, which you can have in addition to your regular Ascendancy class.
Це ще...
Up to 8 points for these classes are unlocked as you complete more quests for the
Почекай.
Asmiri you are training under.
У тебе...
The Warden of Eves can
Тепер я...
teach you to become a Warden of the Magi.
Що?
Powerful class that takes advantage of wilderness
У
knowledge.
тебе тепер 2 Ascendancy
A
буде.
Warden of the Magi can learn to use tinctures which coat their weapon, granting various powerful effects. You can equip tinctures in your flask slots and toggle them on and off at will. You can only have one enabled at a time.
Тобто
but
вони
the
реально
effects are quite
заїбашили просто
conditional,
18
so you may
нових
want to have
Ascendancy.
more than one equipped and swap between them
Може,
during
19.
combat.
Якщо на Солонку досі всім не пух.
For example,
Чекай, що про
equip the
фласки я
Ironwood
прослухав?
tincture to gain the benefit of always stunning enemies on full life.
Always stun enemies on full life.
Tinctures can also get random mods. This one in particular adds stacks of wither to targets on full life and steals frenzy charges on hit, which makes it great as an initiator. When you are fighting rare monsters or finishing off tough bosses, you will want
три
to
для
swap to the
всіх?
Oak Branch tincture,
Думаєш?
which grants Culling Strike, increased damage against enemies on low life, and has a chance to steal a mod
Недооценяю.
from rare enemies you kill. You can buy more tinctures from the Warden of Eves using
Да?
Primal
Ну ладно.
Wisps when you find her in the forest, so keep an eye out for her. As a Warden of the Magi gains more ascendancy points, they gain access to more skills that let them further specialize in tinctures.
Як
For
вони
example,
цікаво це зроблять взагалі?
Nature's Concoction allows you to invest in having your tinctures enhance your flasks. This ascendancy skill makes it important to think about which slots your tinctures are
Окей,
placed in
Ascendancy на фласки.
and what flasks they are adjacent to.
Ясно,
You'll
меч
have
бач
better
ще дорожче
uptime on
буде,
those
не?
flasks and they'll be stronger as a result.
А може
But there are
видалять
plenty
пефку?
more skills to choose even if you don't want to engage with tinctures. For example, another new ability to unlock is Barkskin. It's a reservation skill that causes bark to grow all over your body, increasing armor.
Increasing armor, так.
As you take damage, the bark falls off, increasing your evasion.
Ага. Ну, прикольно
Over
баф.
time, the bark will grow back, removing the evasion bonus,
Коротше,
but
баф,
increasing
який,
your
типу,
armor
от,
again.
збільшується армор, і коли тебе дамажить,
The Breaker
то
of Oaths can teach
збільшиться
you to
evasion
become a
замість
Warlock
армору.
of the Mists, an ascendancy class specializing in the darker arts of the Asmeri.
Окей.
One powerful ability you can choose is Blood Hunt, which grants an active skill called Ravenous.
Revenue skill.
This skill lets you see what type a monster is under its life bar, whether it is a
Humanoid.
demon, beast, undead, construct, or humanoid.
І що?
Consuming a corpse with the skill gives a buff to damage against that type of monster and reduces damage taken by it. You can only have one type active at a time, so it's a good idea to choose wisely for the area that you are in.
Окей.
Some bosses like the Maven are eldritch in nature and don't conform to the regular corpses that you have access to. But don't worry. The Breaker of Oaths has a shop where you can trade wild wisps for corpses that you can place on the ground wherever you are.
Коротше, скіл, який працює...
Buy an eldritch corpse and you will be able to get the bonus while fighting eldritch entities like the
Зараз.
Maven.
Коротше, поглинаєш
You
труп
may notice that most of the corpses he sells
і
are
отримаєш
not
менше
monsters you
демеджа від цього
normally
моба.
encounter.
Від цього типа мобів.
You might want to try turning some of these corpses into specters.
Типу
to take
прикольно,
advantage
але...
of some of the unique abilities that these
Ого.
monsters have.
Касвіт є, дуже дякую. Є. Окей. А це
The
цікаво,
Warlock
це
of
на
the
мапу
Mists
на одну,
gets
чи це
access to
прям...
many other abilities. For example, there is a trio of curses that you can pick from.
Курси обираєш?
One of these curses targets your minions, giving them life degen and making them explode for massive damage when they are near death. One of them
Курси
prevents
для
enemies from
міньйонів?
dealing damage for the latter portion of its duration, which is quite powerful against bosses. This curse creates the interesting build decision of whether or not you should increase curse duration or reduce it. The final curse is a mark that causes enemy phantasms to be spawned when you hit the marked enemy. These phantasms aren't on your side, so they work well with on-hit and on-kill trigger effects, for example.
Окей, якісь курси, коротше...
The Primal
Треба
Huntress can
розбиратись,
teach you to become
поки не
a
зрозуміло.
Wildwood Primalist. Unlike the other new ascendancies, the Primal Huntress lets you customize your tree.
Ого. Ого. Блин, це цікаво.
You do this with
Напевно.
charms that you can buy from the Primal Huntress for Vivid Wisps. Charms have randomly
Ого.
generated mods, which give stats from regular ascendancy classes, allowing you to create
Ой-ой-ой.
your own hybrid ascendancy class.
Тупо крафтиш собі тепер
Charms are
ще
magic items that
Ascendancy,
are aligned
нормально.
with different attributes. So, for example, this
Ah,
Ursine charm
fortifying.
is strength aligned and has gotten the melee hits have a chance to fortify stat from the champion,
Єбать,
and
нормально.
the ability to stop your movement speed going below base from the Juggernaut. This interline Corvine charm lets you get the stat that makes your consecrated ground effects linger from the Inquisitor, and the effect that makes cursed enemies explode from the Occultist. Some of
Окей,
the combination
багато
of mods
приколів
that you
можна
might find for
зробити.
sale on Charms can be
Треба дивитися, які є
extremely
моди.
powerful. So keep a lookout for the Primal Huntress's shop,
Мінімум
even if you're not
power
playing as a Primalist.
Ну, типу,
As a Primalist, you
Типу,
also get access
прикольно.
to a few other interesting abilities.
дивлячись,
Use
які там
War
є
Cries
роли.
next to corpses and they have a chance to drop an extra item. It opens
Ладно,
nearby chests too.
ладно.
The Primalist also gets access to a small extra backpack, just in case you find yourself needing to cart more items to town during your map runs.
Бля, що?
If you are unhappy with
Ладно.
the class you picked, or you just happen to
ладно.
find a really great item for another
Зроблю
one of
вигляд,
the
що я цього не
classes,
бачив.
you are able to change which class you are using next time you find one of the Azmiri Wanderers. Just remember that you will have to do their quests in order to gain the ascendancy points for that class. These quests will lead you towards the ultimate goal of the Azmiri, finding the King in the Mists, defeating him, and cleansing the forest of its affliction once and for all. There are new uniques to find, rewards to claim, and new ascendancy classes to master in the Affliction League.
Чому Кріс Вілсон це не розповідає?
Now that we've covered what's in the League, let's talk about some of the changes you can expect to the core game in 3.23. For a start, Ultimatum is
Так,
finally
окей.
going core.
Що вони
When talking
переробили?
to players at ExileCon, it was the #1 feature that people requested. When playing through in-game maps, you may sometimes encounter the Trial Master, who offers you
Нічого.
a choice to undertake a deadly Val trial in exchange for great rewards. If you defeat the trial, he offers to go double or nothing with you. Do you take the risk and go for an even
Вони
better
нічого не
reward?
переробили
Or do you
просто?
take the
Ні,
winnings
типу
you've
я не
already
проти,
earned off the table
просто
and go home?
чому це раніше
We've
це
done
не
a
можна
full
було зробити?
rebalance of Ultimatum and have added many new mods and rewards, including both new and reworked uniques. The base number of rounds for an Ultimatum trial is now always 10, with a chance to spawn the Trial Master boss fight
Максимум
on the 10th
quality is
round, if you are
200,
able to
да?
make it that
Ага.
far. As part of
Але там не
3.23,
буде,
we have
напевно.
also removed Metamorph from the game. All the Catalyst rewards from Metamorph have now been moved to be
Метаморф
rewards for Ultimatum.
видали? Найс,
We've also
найс.
added a new Val-themed catalyst that works on corrupted items. As is normal for most content that gets added to endgame, we have introduced new Ultimatum passive skills to the Atlas tree.
Ніхуя не бачу змін.
One great example is the
бачу,
Keystone
бачу.
Grueling Gauntlet. It makes ultimatums last 3 extra rounds, but you cannot choose the modifiers, and it prevents the final Trial Master boss fight from spawning. The level of challenge becomes extreme during the last 3 rounds.
Ультиматум,
and
я
not being
хотів
able to choose the
ультиматум.
modifiers makes it even harder. But the rewards are insane, and for those with very high-end characters, it might be a bet worth making. There are lots of other Atlas passive skills you can pick from for Ultimatum, so choose wisely. Now,
Нормально.
it's time to talk about one of the largest metagame changes we've ever made. There were 3 systems in Path of Exile that were all trying to
Так.
subtly modify the behavior of skills. These were alternate quality gems, Labyrinth Helmet Enchants,
Що це таке
and
взагалі?
unique
Це лабіринт?
threshold jewels. We've combined all of these together to create a new system called Transfigured Gems. that allows
Transfigured
us to
Gems,
fully
так,
achieve the
100
goal of
плюс.
these 3 systems and then some. Transfigured Gems are alternative versions of existing skill gems that have different functionality and balance from their regular
Альтернативна
versions.
версія просто, ну і що?
We have added a huge number of these with interesting variations that drastically change how existing skills play. For example, Frostbomb of Instability.
Фростбомба в
Changes it from a
інстабіліті,
cooldown
так.
skill that you can cast occasionally for a large explosion into a skill that you can cast continuously.
Як це класно
that deals less
виглядає,
damage and
боже.
doesn't apply cold exposure. It changes the
Чекай.
role of Frostbomb from a utility
Вікер,
skill
покажи,
into a main
да-да-да-да.
damaging skill. Another example is Detonate Dead of Scavenging. You can't use it on corpses that were created by Desecrate or Unearth,
Detonate
but in
Dead, да?
exchange it does a whole lot more damage. You won't be able to use it as your main reliable source of damage, but it's a great skill to use as a 4-link utility to get some extreme burst damage. Raise
Huh?
Zombie of Falling.
Так, зомбі.
Instead of raising a zombie from a corpse, you summon them from mid-air. They fall to their death, dealing AoE damage where they land.
А,
While this
зверху
sounds like a
тупо зомбі
physical damage
падають,
version
да?
of
Ясно.
Firestorm, you should consider that it scales with minion damage and also
Тупо
triggers
зомбі
on
з
death
неба
minion
кидаєш.
effects.
Нахуєть.
Blight of Contagion. This version of Blight is now spread by Contagion, so you can use it as part of your Essence Drain build. We have a huge number of these. Transfigure Firestorm into Firestorm with Meteors, Transfigure Blade Trap into Blade Trap of Great Swords, Transfigure Barrage into Barrage of Volley Fire, and so on.
Покажіть флікер.
There's a lot to experiment with, and we look forward to seeing what builds you can come up with. But how do you get Transfigured Gems?
Так.
The divine font at the end of the Eternal Labyrinth has been changed to a gem crafting device that can modify
Tak.
your skill and support gems in a lot of new ways. One of the
Sacrifice
options you can
game
now
for
choose is to
treasure
turn a skill gem
case.
into one of 3 transfigured gems. But that isn't all the divine font can do. It has a lot of other gem crafting options you can use. For example, you can add quality
Додати
to
100
gems, add
мільйонів, да?
experience to gems, sacrifice a gem for one or more treasure keys to open Azara's chests, and you can even exchange support gems for exceptional support gems like Empower or Enlighten. These are just some of the options you'll find the Divine Font is now capable of. In order to replace the rewards and heist that previously gave alternate quality
Здається,
gems,
Лабранера
we've
треба
done a rebalance of
зберігати.
the rewards of heist as well. Experimented base types have been rebalanced. New replica
Реплика.
uniques have been added and old ones changed, and we have increased the amount of currency from display cases as well.
Fortification.
On top of
Окей.
this, we have gone through and buffed the quality stats on most damage-dealing skills. In
Ого.
most cases, they will be significantly more powerful than before, and also more interesting.
Ну це добре, це добре.
Overall, this is
Основний
one of
скіл
the
має
largest
бути,
minigame
ну,
shifts that we've ever done. There are so many crazy new
основним,
skill combinations to
уявляєте?
plan around, so we
Навіть
expect to
квалітім.
see some really interesting new builds.
Але нерфи ж треба, не, блядь,
Next up, I'd like to
Just
hand
один
back over to
project
Chris to talk
фрідавати.
about the new supporter packs.
на луках.
At this point, we'd usually talk
О,
about the League
Кріс,
supporter packs.
логін.
We're doing things a bit differently this year. Rather
Так.
than releasing League supporter packs today and then our annual core packs 2 weeks later, we've combined it all together into a strong set of core supporter packs that will be released alongside Path of Exile Affliction next week.
Так, і
The
що?
series contains 5
Бля,
packs,
що це?
each with its full value in points and a collection of exclusive cosmetic microtransactions.
Ёпта.
The higher packs contain physical merchandise. We'll unveil the full details of each of the packs at release next week. But in the meantime, here's a
Це
sneak
прикольно, до
peek of
речі.
some of their exclusive cosmetic microtransactions.
Да тупо на серфі.
These packs will be available for purchase when Path of Exile Affliction launches on the 8th of December. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
Прикольно, до речі. Ні, правда класно виглядає.
We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post Path of Exile Affliction's full patch notes. With the release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial
What to
information
expect
ready for
next
Affliction's
week.
release. Keep an eye on the news. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kyrix Vault Pass. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to exploring the Viridian Wildwood with you next week.
Треба
We'll begin the
подумати,
Q&A
як я це
shortly, so
почуваю.
please get your questions ready.